At 3:47 a.m. Moscow time, a single keystroke changed everything. Deep within a nondescript building in St. Petersburg, a figure hunched over multiple glowing screens made a decision that would send shockwaves across 3 continents. The target wasn't a military base or government building. It was something far more insidious, far more personal. While you were sleeping, checking social media, or going about your daily routine, an invisible war was being fought in the digital realm. Not with bullets or bombs, but with lines of code that could cripple entire nations. The soldiers? Faceless hackers operating under the direct orders of Vladimir Putin himself. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now in 2025. As you watch this video, Russian cyber operatives are infiltrating systems you depend on every single day. Your bank account, your hospital's life support systems, your country's power grid, nothing is off. Limits in Putin's digital battlefield. But here's what makes this story truly terrifying. The attack I'm about to reveal to you represents just the tip of the iceberg. Intelligence agencies across the world are scrambling to contain something so sophisticated, so dangerous, that even seasoned cybersecurity experts are calling it the new Cold War. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you view technology, privacy, and the very nature of modern warfare. Because while politicians debate and diplomats negotiate, Putin's cyber army is already inside our systems, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The question isn't if they'll attack again, it's when. And whether we'll be ready for what comes next. The digital Iron Curtain has fallen, and we're all living behind enemy lines. Before we dive into this explosive investigation, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell. This type of content takes months of research and insider access to bring you, and your support helps us continue exposing the stories that matter most. The year 2025 has ushered in a new era of warfare, one where the battlefield exists entirely in cyberspace and the weapons are made of code rather than steel. At the center of this digital revolution stands Vladimir Putin, whose cyber warfare strategy has evolved into perhaps the most sophisticated and dangerous threat facing the modern world. To understand the magnitude of what we're dealing with, we need to step back and examine how Putin transformed Russia into a cyber superpower. Unlike traditional military buildups that require decades and enormous financial investments, cyber warfare offers something far more attractive to an authoritarian leader: maximum impact with minimal attribution. The genesis of Russia's cyber dominance can be traced back to Putin's early recognition that future conflicts would be fought in the digital realm. Rather than competing with NATO's conventional military superiority, Putin chose to invest heavily in what military strategists now call asymmetric digital warfare, the ability to cause massive damage through cyber operations while maintaining plausible deniability. The organizational structure of Putin's cyber army is both brilliant and terrifying in its scope. At the top sits the main intelligence directorate, known as the GRU, which oversees the most elite hacking units. Below them operates a complex network of state-sponsored groups, criminal organizations, and freelance hackers who work in coordination to achieve strategic objectives. What makes this system particularly dangerous is its layered approach to operations. When a major cyber attack occurs, it becomes nearly impossible to determine whether it originated from official Russian military units, criminal groups operating with state approval, or independent actors following general directives. This ambiguity is intentional and represents one of Putin's most effective innovations in modern warfare. The tools and techniques employed by Russian cyber operatives in 2025 have reached levels of sophistication that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Advanced persistent threats now utilize artificial intelligence to adapt their attack vectors in real time, making them nearly impossible to detect using traditional cybersecurity measures. One of the most concerning developments is the integration of machine learning algorithms into malware design. These programs can actually learn from the defensive measures they encounter, evolving their approach to become more effective with each attempted intrusion. It's like fighting an enemy that becomes smarter and more dangerous every time you try to stop them. The psychological warfare component of Putin's digital strategy cannot be understated. Beyond the technical attacks on infrastructure and data, Russian cyber operations focus heavily on what intelligence analysts call cognitive warfare, attacks designed to manipulate public opinion and destabilize democratic institutions from within. Social media platforms have become the primary battlefield for these operations. Using sophisticated bot networks powered by artificial intelligence, Russian operatives can create the illusion of grassroots movements, amplify divisive content, and spread disinformation at a scale previously unimaginable. The goal isn't necessarily to convince people of any particular viewpoint, but rather to create confusion, division, and ultimately, a loss of faith in democratic institutions. The economic implications of Putin's cyber warfare strategy extend far beyond the immediate costs of individual attacks. By targeting financial institutions, supply chains, and critical infrastructure, Russian cyber operations create what economists call systemic fragility, a condition where entire economic sectors become vulnerable to cascading failures triggered by relatively small digital disruptions. Consider the recent attacks on international banking networks. While the immediate financial losses were significant, the long-term impact comes from the erosion of trust in digital financial systems. When people lose confidence in the security of online banking, electronic payments, and digital currencies, it forces a return to less efficient, more costly traditional methods of conducting business. The healthcare sector has emerged as a particularly vulnerable and attractive target for Russian cyber operations. Hospitals and medical facilities rely heavily on interconnected digital systems for everything from patient records to life support equipment. A successful attack on healthcare infrastructure doesn't just steal data, it literally puts lives at risk. Intelligence sources have revealed that Russian cyber units maintain detailed profiles of critical infrastructure targets in dozens of countries. These aren't random attacks of opportunity, but carefully planned operations designed to achieve specific strategic objectives. The level of preparation and reconnaissance involved in these operations rivals that of traditional military campaigns. Human cost of Putin's digital warfare extends beyond the immediate victims of cyber attacks. The constant threat of digital infiltration has created what cybersecurity experts call cyber anxiety, a pervasive fear that affects how people interact with technology in their daily lives. When citizens can't trust that their personal information is secure, it fundamentally changes the social contract between individuals and the digital systems they depend on. Educational institutions have also found themselves in the crosshairs of Russian cyber operations. By targeting universities and research facilities, Russian hackers gain access to cutting-edge scientific research, intellectual property, and the personal information of future leaders in government, technology, and industry. These operations represent a long-term investment in intelligence gathering that could pay dividends for decades to come. The international response to Putin's cyber warfare campaign has been fragmented and largely ineffective. Traditional diplomatic tools and economic sanctions have proven inadequate when dealing with attacks that can be carried out anonymously from anywhere in the world. The challenge of attribution, proving definitively that a particular cyber attack originated from Russian state actors, provides Putin with a significant strategic advantage. Military leaders across NATO countries have begun discussing the need for new doctrines regarding cyber warfare. The question of when a cyber attack constitutes an act of war equivalent to a physical attack remains unresolved, creating a dangerous gray area that Putin's operatives exploit with increasing boldness. The technological arms race in cyberspace has accelerated dramatically in 2025. As defensive cybersecurity measures become more sophisticated, Russian hackers respond by developing even more advanced attack methods. This creates a perpetual cycle of escalation that shows no signs of slowing down. Perhaps most disturbing is the emerging evidence that Russian cyber operations are moving beyond traditional targets toward what intelligence analysts call civilization-level attacks. These operations target the fundamental digital infrastructure that modern society depends on: power grids, water treatment facilities, transportation networks, and communication systems. The psychological profile of Putin himself provides crucial insight into why cyber warfare has become such a central component of Russian strategy. Unlike conventional military operations that require public support and significant resources, cyber attacks allow Putin to project power internationally while maintaining the appearance of plausible deniability domestically. Looking toward the future, cybersecurity experts warn that 2025 may represent just the beginning of Putin's digital offensive. The combination of advancing artificial intelligence, increasing global dependence on digital systems, and the proven effectiveness of cyber operations suggests that the scope and intensity of these attacks will only continue to grow. The challenge for democratic societies lies not just in developing better defensive technologies, but in maintaining open, interconnected digital systems while protecting against increasingly sophisticated attacks. The very openness that makes democratic societies successful also makes them vulnerable to the type of cyber warfare that Putin has perfected. As we move deeper into this digital age, the line between virtual and physical warfare continues to blur. The keystrokes made in that Moscow building at 3:47 a.m. weren't just attacking computer systems, they were attacking the very foundations of how we live, work, and interact in the modern world. The question that keeps intelligence officials awake at night isn't whether Putin will escalate his cyber warfare operations, it's whether democratic societies can adapt quickly enough to survive in this new digital battlefield where traditional rules no longer apply and where a single line of code can be more devastating than an entire army. The war for the digital future has already begun, and Vladimir Putin is winning.